Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Econovate 2020 event organized by CASPR. We have Audrey from International Management Institute, Kolkata, and Mr. Bhattacharya from Calcutta University. We have our panel members, Ms. Saili Bose and Ms. Ankita Gar. Welcome, all of you. Presenters, you can start the topic by introducing yourself.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. I am Ritabrata Bhattacharya and I will be presenting the topic potential impact of COVID-19 on the Indian economy along with my fellow researcher Adhay Pramanik. The purpose of the research is to analyze the impact of coronavirus on various sectors of economy and to conclude measures by which our economy can recover. We have gathered data from various sources like magazines, newspaper articles, and discussions on economic forum. However, our research has some limitations like lack of time and lack of data. Now we'll discuss the impact of COVID-19 on Indian economy. Total 78,000 cases were confirmed, out of which 26,000 were cured and 2,500 people died. The infection rate is 3.8%. India has been doing comparatively better, the death rate being lower than others. Sectors like transport, tourism, entertainment, and financial services are negatively impacted. Moody's have projected India's GDP growth at 2.5% in 2020. There is a steep fall in consumption of non-essential goods due to abrupt stop in urban activities. Disruption through supply chain breakdown is also seen. So here are the possible three scenarios. Scenario one is the optimistic scenario. It shows the temporary impact of COVID-19 and a V-shaped recovery. The lockdown will be lifted by April. There will be small financial and monetary packages declared. Expected growth will be 5.5% by the end of 2021. Situation 2, a somewhat optimistic scenario, the lockdown lifted by May, U-shaped recovery, broader stimulus packages declared and expected growth rate 4.5% by the end of financial year 21. The situation 3 represents the pessimistic scenario where the lockdown will be continued till June. The economy will suffer a lot. The global and the domestic demand will be burned fully, and the expected growth is 3% by the end of financial year 21. So now we'll discuss some of the sectors individually. And these are the sectors: auto sector, pharmaceutical, aviation business, oil and gas, food and agriculture, MSME, the consumer, retail and internet business, and the financial services sector. So moving on with the first sector, the auto and auto components. So the auto sector was already under pressure. Overall degrowth of 18% last year. Overall revenue impact of at least 1.5 to $2 billion per month across the industry. The tractor sales remains positive and will recover ahead of private vehicles and two-wheelers due to the strong Rabi output and expected good monsoon. Loan defaults likely to shoot up and new loans provided expected to drop given the difficulties in creditworthiness. Expected strain on mobility solutions, used car and after-market service providers. Shared mobility players like Ola, Uber have to re-engineer their offerings as customers will reject any means of transport violating social distancing norms. So how can the industry recover? We have suggested three steps. The step one is to respond during the lockdown. Activities contributing in fighting the pandemic can be done. Companies like Hyundai and Maruti are manufacturing masks and ventilators. Prepare for an omni-channel sales experience. Use VR technology for sales and virtually train staffs. Step two is to recover in one or two quarters after the lockdown ends. Explore alternate revenue options. Prepare for spikes in after-sale service due to pending scheduled maintenance. And the step 3 is to reinvent in 2+ quarters after the lockdown, redesign processes to become lean and responsive, adopt end-to-end digitalization of customer journey from sales to service. Moving on, we have the pharmaceutical sector. There is a large import dependence on China. Due to high export demand, export of APIs, essential medicines, surgical masks, and ventilators were banned temporarily to ensure domestic demand stays intact. Shortage in supply of drugs due to disruption in supply chain of APIs were witnessed. Due to production shutdown, masks and sanitizers could not be distributed for few weeks. Online delivery of medicines affected due to non-availability of labor and transport passes. So how can the industry recover? Boost API production in India and invest in R&D. Incentive package of 13.76 billion Indian rupees were declared for promotion of domestic production of raw material and medical devices. A pharmaceutical critical reserve inventory is to be maintained at FDA approved warehouses for at least 3 months for emergency purposes. Create multilateral partnership with the European Union and the USA. Moving on, we have the aviation business. Domestic traffic growth dropped by 30% and airfare in the popular domestic routes reduced by 20 to 25% due to the postponement or cancellation of flights by domestic travelers. The rate of passenger load factor, PLF, will be a key concern. It is the passenger capacity of the flight. Even after normalcy, PLF will be at 50%. The break-even ticket price will be astronomical. Airlines are filing for bankruptcy due to low cash reserves. This has raised 29 lakhs jobs and lead to pay cuts. The cost of maintaining aircraft on ground, like parking charges, landing charges, rentals, etc., is extremely high. So how can the industry recover? Bring ATF, that is aviation turbine fuel, under the gambit of 12% GST, waiver of airport and parking charges, moratorium for next 12 months, and no loans should be charged as NPS during the period. Cabin crew should wear masks and protective gowns and follow the hygiene protocols. Moving on, we have the oil and gas sector. This sector is under twin assault. There is demand destruction along with price war between key global producers like Russia and Saudi Arabia. There is delay in exploration and development, and this could lead to project delays that increase cost. Complex upstream projects are likely to hit the hardest due to pressure on cash flow. Lower prices can shelve some oil and gas discoveries. So how can the industry recover? Reduce excise and VAT as crude prices have dropped, and roll out GST for fuel and gas in the long term. Price support and direct benefit to the end customer, easing financial stress in the sector by providing short-term borrowings, tax concession, and sectoral incentives, maintaining a reliable supply and ensuring no significant inventory buildup can help this sector recover. So moving on, we have the food and agriculture sector. The main problems are shortage of labor and inability to access the market to sell the produce. The producers are facing a huge loss, sharp rise in daily wages due to shortage of migrant workers, adverse impact of less facilities clubbed with vigilant roadblocks. This has limiting effect on movement of agro produce and machinery. And so what are the steps by which the industry can recover? Redressing farmer grievances by providing subsidies, crop insurance, and agricultural credit can be a way. Free movement of produce and machinery. The features of National Agriculture Market (ENAM) platform reduces the need of farmers to physically access the wholesale mandis for selling their produce. Loan rescheduling and writing of NPS. The process of reverse migration provides opportunity to engage returning laborers to employment. Now my friend Aday will continue from here.
Hello. The first slide I want to go through is through the MSME slide and how it was affected. The MSMEs were already struggling in terms of declining revenues and capacity utilization in the lead up to the COVID-19 crisis. Over 25% of India's MSMEs were closed to down if the lockdown extends beyond 4 to 8 weeks. The immediate challenge of the MSME will be to clear up the burden to pay the statutory dues, pressing their creditors. The low demand for the products, the disruption in the supply chain, on the other hand, may push prices for raw materials up, which may negatively hurt MSMEs' cash flows. Most of them are not registered anywhere, and this is the main problem the government is going to face, as they won't be able to give them or properly help them out. 25% of MSME loans could slip into solvency and liquidity risk because of this. Now, how can this sector recover? For bankruptcy protection and liquidity support, MSMEs could receive liquidity lines from the banks or loans administered through SIDBI. Secondly, they can provide relief to millions of small businesses. The finance minister announced a few measures which include collateral-free automatic loan worth up to rupees 3 lakh crore. Borrowers with up to 25 rupees crores outstanding and rupees 1,000 crore turnover are eligible for this. There has been a quantum jump in the definition of MSME, which has not been changed since the MSME Definition Act or Development Act of 2006 and was long awaited. As per the new amendment or definition, MSMEs should have been either based on investment or on the turnover basis. And lastly, e-market for MSMEs will be promoted to act as a replacement for trade affairs and exhibitions. MSME receivables from government and CPSs will be released in 45 days. Moving on to the next sector, that's the consumer retail and the internet business and how it was affected. The demand and the consumption of FMCG and household products increased massively owing to panic buying by consumers, and companies had to increase their production. Products such as the food, grocery, staples, health and hygiene products, including soaps and hand sanitizers, etc., witnessed a massive uptick in their demand. There will be increased pressure on the e-commerce companies for the delivery of the products, and they need to equip their employees with appropriate resources to manage operations remotely with the less disruptions. The disruptions in the supply chain and logistics is leading to drying up of inventory levels at retailers, which may significantly impact the supply of product to consumers. The COVID impact is expected to be felt acutely in the consumer durable sector, as it has a high dependency on China for imports. India imports almost half of its completely built units of consumer durables from China itself. So now I want to move into how the economy can recover in this sector. Consumer retail sector can actually map a strategic journey to financial resilience, at the same time plan for longer term implications on their operating model owing to a shift in the external environment. Retailers should focus on optimizing costs so that they can maintain cash margin and enough buffer margin to help them survive in the medium and in the long term. Given the uncertainty around the crisis, retailers should have a cross-functional swift response team to handle any event that may follow. Like for example, Flipkart has partnered with Spencer's Retail, Big Basket and Spencer's Retail have partnered with Uber, and Marico has partnered with Zomato for hyper-local delivery of essentials. Now I want to move into the banking, NBFCs and the insurance sector. Firstly, I want to talk about the banking and the NBFC companies. The bank's profitability will be under pressure due to the reduced offtake of loans under recessionary market conditions and cautious customer outlook, the depressed NIMs in a low interest regime, and due to the volatility in the capital market. The liquidity in the financial institutions may be cushioned by the RBI's recent policy announcement relating to the CRR and the marginal standard facility. However, weaker private banks may be impacted due to the customers' flight to safety as they begin to deposit with stronger banks. The NBFC segment needs liquidity and credit support at concessional interest rates. The right balance by banks and NBFCs between continuity of repayment cash flows versus extending the 3-month moratorium to the required buyers. Now let us discuss about the insurance sector. The insurance policy renewals may get delayed due to the shortage of money in the hands of the policyholders. All key actuarial assumptions, for the example mortality, claim incidence, recovery rate, etc., need short-term adjustments. The increase in the inpatient treatment, free hospitalization, post-hospitalization claims due to transmission rate of these diseases and the intensity of the breakout. Due to the material drop in the interest rate, there is an increase in the credit spread and the volatility in equity. The valuation discount rate used by the actuaries to calculate the mathematical reserves will reduce thereby putting pressures on the premiums. So how can this whole industry recover? incentivizing through the lower taxation and special incentive schemes, extending the moratorium of 6 months post return to the normalcy, creating a long-term tenure for the sub-loans for retail loan installments that were accumulated and unpaid during the moratorium period, purchasing corporate bonds in the primary and secondary markets, usage of AI and machine language to reduce operating costs, automatic renewal of premium payment for a certain duration to ensure policies stay in force, digitized and efficient processes to ensure increased manpower productivity. And as WHO has notified that COVID-19 is a pandemic, so many insurance companies have already claimed that they won't be releasing claims on the basis of this. But despite this, some health insurance companies like Aditya Birla and Bajaj Alliance are providing insurance cover. And by this way, I suppose they will be able to gain more premium and they will be able to get hold of the major part of the market by this. So now I want to conclude this presentation. The widespread increase of the COVID-19 has transformed the world's hustle into varying degrees of uncertainty. This is not just another turn of the business cycle, but a shake-up of the whole economic world. So we have summarized a few ways in which the business landscape will shift. The shift towards localization, the current situation and the recessionary climate is likely to lead to greater protectionism and the risk aversion. This is expected to lead to more localization of supply chains, especially of essentials. The cut in the policy and the fiscal rates. The Reserve Bank of India has cut its repo rate by 75 basis points. The digital gets a real push. Most companies have opted to work remotely and their employees are now working online and obviously working from their home. The rationalization of GST rates, just GST stimulus by the way of rate of concessions or reductions in the tax rate has been given to various sectors. And we should also be moving towards variable cost models, and the supply chain resilience will be the key, will possibly the key in this situation. And finally, to end this, I want to discuss a bit about the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan package that our Prime Minister has declared. It's a stimulus package of 20 lakh crores. The package was said to be around 10% of India's GDP of the financial year 2019 and 20 and aims towards making India self-reliant by cutting down import dependence. It includes the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan package that provides insurance coverage of 50 lakh per wealth worker, 80 crore people given benefit of 5 kg wheat or rice per person for the next 3 months, 20 crore women Jan Dhan account holders get INR 500 per month for the next 3 months and such other measures. A reduction in CRR has resulted in liquidity enhancement of INR 1,37,000 crores. The bank's limit for borrowing the overnight under the marginal standing facility has been increased. Special funds for viable and the potential MSME sector has been allotted. Liquidity schemes for NBFC, housing finance, corporations and microfinance institutions has been announced. And I suppose all these measures would surely help India recover from the current pandemic condition. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I request our panel members to drop some inputs.
Hi, this is Shaheli. Nice presentation. But the thing is that you have covered many things in the presentation, and actually many things, the sectors are interlinked. So there are backward linkages and forward linkages between the sectors that you have discussed. Okay, so I think if you club them together, shown the linkages, and then talked about the policies, it would have been more meaningful. As an audience who's listening to the presentation, I felt that thing is there. Then you talked in the concluding slides, one of the concluding, and also I did not find something very different from what we are reading in the newspapers. So, that is a thing that you can probably work out. Something innovative and something, you can choose one sector and delve deeper into it and then kind of think of a particular policy or particular intervention that might benefit that particular sector. So that is one suggestion. The other thing is that when you talk about digital push, many studies have already shown, including NSSO data, that our digital presence is very low. All India in rural areas, less than 25% of households have access to internet. So in such a situation, when you're talking about pushing for digital ways of working, what exactly do you have in mind? How to, because it's an immediate problem. You know that it's you have to deal with the problem right now. If people don't have internet access, they can't work right now. They'll get out of the labor force. So what's your take on that problem?
Ma'am, actually, the people who are working from their home or the people who need this internet for working from their home, like, ma'am, I think they already have access to the internet. The people who are backlogging in this scene are possibly the workers or the hard labor workers who possibly don't need the usage of internet for their working purposes. Like, they may need it for like buying something, or like means when they're going out to get something, like for digitalized payments, like when they're getting from something from the kirana store or some small mart or something of that sort. At that point of time, they probably need the internet. But like as far as the internet is concerned, for the people who are working for the means, like who are working for the ITs or like who are working for some company, I do think like they have access to the internet properly.
So, through all the presentations that we had today, everyone has internet access, but there are connectivity issues. So, that's a problem you need to think about. When you say that digital medium has to be pushed, and you're talking about just one sector, but other sectors also use digital platforms. They are using it now. Okay, so when you're saying something like this, you have to mention the drawbacks of such a policy recommendation. Otherwise, it hardly makes any sense.
Surely, ma'am. Let's keep this in mind.
Any other inputs, Ms. Sankita ma'am?
Hi, this is Ankita. So I just want to give one or two comments on the presentation. Firstly, I felt that in the initial slides, the presentation was not updated, especially the first slide where you talked about the 3 scenarios. It's already 2nd of June. So when you gave the 3 scenarios that lockdown is till March, it's till April, till it's May, and till it is till June. So because it should be updated. Secondly, I felt that there was lack of reliable data, as told by Saheli, that mostly the research was from magazines and newspapers, and you should work on that, more reliable sources of data. And thirdly, that when you say, for example, in pharmaceuticals, you said that invest in R&D. That is a very crude thing to say. You should come up with more data and more reliable data to put in the sectors. These are my comments on your presentation. Rest all was fine.
Surely, ma'am. We'll work on this, ma'am. Surely.
Okay, any other inputs? You want to add some points, presenters?
So, no, sir. Like, we are really grateful that you're giving us a chance for this, and like this is possibly the first paper we both are working on. So that's possibly the reason like we had faced some backlogs and setbacks. So like we are surely going to like work on these things like which both the people have mentioned.
Okay, so thank you very much, our presenters and panel members, for joining the event. It was a wonderful discussion. Hopefully, we will meet again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.